Today's edition of the Heat Report will feature two main storylines. One, and we'll start off with this one, could the Heat trade for Joel Embiid, the MVP from the Philadelphia 76ers? And storyline number two, how will Damian Lillard potentially fit in this Heat roster, in the Heat culture, and could they win an NBA championship in year one if the Dame deal goes through? That will be later on in the video, so if you want to hear more analysis on, instead of news and rumors, on how it actually would fit and how they would play on the basketball court, stay tuned for that. But let's start with the news and rumors portion of today's show, and that is Joel Embiid potentially coming to the 305 to play for the Miami Heat. Now, this would have to be via trade, obviously. He is under contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. And you might ask yourself, where did this rumor stem from? Well, Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype put out that with Harden potentially asking out, if the upcoming season for the Philadelphia 76ers does not go as planned and they struggle after losing James Harden, could Embiid ask out? And he mentioned in that article, in his report, that there are multiple teams keeping tabs on the Joel Embiid 76ers situation, mainly it being the New York Knicks. But then he also did point out that one would have to question if the Heat do not get Damian Lillard. Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid are really good friends, and he would consider the Heat among one of the teams that could trade for Joel Embiid. And he also mentioned that in that package, it would be including Bam Adebayo, because listen, when you're getting an MVP caliber player, probably have to trade Bam. I don't know if I would do it, but I'll dive more into that in a second. But this is why you subscribe. I'm not in the office today, but I just want to talk some Heat basketball with you guys, whether it be actually on the court, how Dame could fit, which we'll get to later, or Joel Embiid rumors, so hit that sub button. I want to be your one-stop shop for everything Miami Heat. And when you think Heat and want to be informed, I want you to think of this face right here. All right, so let's see how Joel Embiid would fit and what the trade package would be from the Miami Heat. Well, this is called a spade, right? Like, Bam Adebayo is one of the best young players in the league, a top 20 player in my opinion, and unfortunately you'd have to trade him for Joel Embiid. Will the Heat do it? I don't know, probably not, but that's what the package would have to be, and I think you would only really have to offer Bam and maybe one first to get Joel Embiid. Like, let's be honest here, Bam is 26, Joel Embiid's 29, 30. Bam is definitely someone who's coveted around the league and could be one of the best young assets in the entire association, that if he ever asked out, people would be sending the farm to get him, right? So he is someone who's very valuable, someone who can, I think, get you Joel Embiid for not a lot, right? Like, I don't think you need to send more than Bam Adebayo because you have a 20-point-per-game scorer who's also the best defensive player on the planet. At least that's in my opinion. So I don't think you'd have to trade much to get Joel Embiid outside of Bam and maybe one first. It'd be close to a swap. And the question is, would the Heat do that, and should they? And I don't know if they should. Like, even though it could maybe get you a win-now scenario closer, because Joel Embiid is better than Bam Adebayo. Like, we just have to call it how it is. He just averaged 33 points per game and won MVP. But I think I would rather stick with Bam, and the reason why I say this is because if you trade Bam, and then it's Jimmy and Joel, which, sure, that might get you closer to an NBA title right now, but if you don't win an NBA title, you're screwed because then you have no future after Joel Embiid and Jimmy retire or get washed in 3 to 4 years. And that's not out of the question to say Embiid could be washed by age 33, 34 because of his injury history. And I've shown this graphic on shows in the past, but Bam Adebayo has played 100 more games than Joel Embiid did in their first 6 seasons. Bam just finished his 6th season in the league. He played over 300 games. Joel Embiid, through his first 6 years, only played 209 games. So Bam Adebayo is someone who could stay on the floor consistently, is known to have good games when it matters the most, a la Game 5 against the Bucks, Game 6 against the Knicks, Game 7 against the Celtics. Like, he plays really well when it matters the most, and he's used to playing in big moments. He's been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals, where Joel Embiid has not reached there once. He's been to 2 NBA Finals, obviously lost both, but he's been there twice, and unfortunately he got hurt in the first one against the Lakers in 2020, where I'll go down to my grave saying that the Heat would have won that NBA title if Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo didn't get hurt in Game 1. So I think there's a lot to dissect on whether the Heat could and should trade for Joel Embiid, and you'd have to send Bam, which would be the best package the Sixers could probably get, because you realistically cannot have Joel and Bam play next to each other. Joel can shoot the three, but Bam cannot. And until Bam proves that he can be a 33, 34% three-point shooter, which he has basically shot none of that thus to this point in his career, the fit wouldn't work because it's two inside the free throw line guys, and the spacing would be horrible. Now, the defense would be incredible, right? You got Bam on the outside switching, guarding 1 through 5, and you can switch with Embiid, and Embiid is a great rim protector, averaging 1.8 blocks per game over the past 4 seasons. So the defense would be there, and it would be incredible. But the offense would have terrible spacing, and I don't see the fit. So you'd have to trade Bam, which was a pretty big disappointment for a lot of Heat fans, and I think I would be willing to pass on Joel Embiid, even though it might give you a better win-now window at this current moment. But I'll ask you guys, would you trade Bam for Joel Embiid? If yes, type Y. If N, type no. It's the pinned comment. I'm very curious on this thought experiment if you guys would trade Bam for Joel Embiid. Topic number 2 on the way. How would a Dame, Jimmy, Bam Big 3 work on the hardwood, and would it win a championship in year 1? Let's dive into this, because this is one of my passionate discussions right now, and I asked the question earlier this week that would a Dame, Jimmy, and Bam Big 3 be better than a Bron, Bosh, and Wade Big 3? And I got a lot of slack for it, I gotta be honest, and that was to be expected. I mean, that trio did win 2 NBA titles and went to the NBA Finals 4 straight times, all 4 years they played together. And I saw a lot of people bash me for saying that Bam could be more effective than what Bosh was at that time. And to me, when you have Dame, Jimmy, and Bam, I think it is the perfect trio. I mean perfect, literally. And I'll tell you why. You've got Damian Lillard, the point guard who averages 32 a game and can shoot it from 35 feet and spaces a defense. And he's going to draw a lot of attention because no one could guard him one-on-one in the perimeter, and he can ISO, get to his step back, and knock down threes like it's nothing. And then you've got Jimmy, the two-way wing, who is best at playing off-ball. And I've seen some people talk to me and ask me, why would you have Jimmy play off-ball? He can't shoot the 3 consistently, only shooting about 25% from 3 in the regular season. Now, that does get upticked in the postseason, but in the regular season, you do have to ask yourself, is he someone who can play off-ball? And then the answer is absolutely yes. He is at his best offensively playing off ball. And it's not just catch and shoot threes. And I think that's a common misconception in the league right now, is that people think off ball shooting 3-pointers off the catch and shoot. There is way more levels to playing off ball, whether it be setting screens for opponents, be setting screens for the guy with the ball, or diving on a baseline cut, or cutting to that free throw line to catch it quickly and put it up with a nice little floater. And these are things that Jimmy Butler does exceptionally well. I think he's his most dangerous form offensively when he is off the ball, catching his defender sleeping, getting back door on the baseline cuts, and catching it, pump faking and going up with it, or pump faking and drawing a foul and getting that free throw line. Another move that Jimmy Butler absolutely loves is getting to that free throw line, catching it, sizing up a smaller defender, and then rising up in that 5 to 8 foot range in front of the free throw line, head on with the basket for a little push shot floater. And he did that very effectively against the Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks. He kind of tortured Jrue Holiday in that 5 to 10 foot range in the post. That is how he got most of his buckets. And then obviously he was able to get to the free throw line and hit a couple key jumpers. So that's why I think it could work between Dame and Jimmy, with Dame handling the ball, because Dame averages 7.5 assists a game over the past 4 seasons. You got Jimmy doing his off-ball cutting and sizing up smaller guards in the post, and then let's bring in Bam Adebayo. How would he affect this team offensively with Dame? Well, for the same reason I mentioned Jimmy being so effective, it would be the same thing for Bam. He would be able to set screens for Dame, and I think it would rival the Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic pick and roll when it comes to efficiency. The Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they just won an NBA title beating the Miami Heat because of how effective they were in that pick and roll situation as a duo. Now, if you do that with Dame and Bam, you've got the athletic Bam Adebayo, the center, who can set a screen and slip and catch at that free throw line and either go up for a quick dunk or hit a nice little 10-foot jump shot that he has worked on so much and has turned into an effective part of his game over the past 2 seasons. And then if you don't do that, right? Say Dame doesn't hit Bam on a slip or a roll. What can Dame do? He can drive to the cup, draw defenders, and kick it out to other shooters, or hit a nice little push-shot floater, or hit a 3 in the pull-up game. The reason why this big 3 would be so effective is because you can have the pick and roll where Bam sets the screen. And then Dame can make the decision to whether I want to shoot a 3. And if they don't blitz me, they don't hedge, then I'm going to have all the space in the world to hit a pull-up jumper, whether it be from the 3 or the mid-range. And then if they do hedge, you can hit Bam Adebayo on the slip. And what is going to happen then? Unless the defense is willing to give up an open dunk in that Bam slip, there's going to be someone who crashes to rotate over to defend Bam Adebayo at the rim. Well, then what happens? Bam is a very good passer, 4 or 5 assists a game. He is someone who can have an 8 assist, 9 assist game. He's a good passer and he has good vision. So someone comes over from the weak side to stop Bam Adebayo from finishing at the rim. Well, guess what? Now there's someone open, whether it be a Caleb Martin shooting a 3 in the corner or Josh Richardson. Or maybe we bring in Jimmy Butler playing off ball like I mentioned he is so good at. So Dame gets a screen from Bam, hits Bam in the slip, someone rotates over, and what does Bam do? Collects himself, little easy pass to Jimmy Butler cutting baseline because now his defender rotated over, and now Jimmy Butler has an easy dunk for a basket. That is just the offense that Eric Spoelstra can cook up. And that is just one example in one play that could make this big 3 so effective. And the reason why I say they complement each other better than the big 3 with Bron, Wade, and Bosh, just think about this. That time, Chris Bosh might have been the best 3-pointer out of those big 3. And you look at the role players on those original big 3 Miami Heat team, a Mike Miller, a Ray Allen, a Mario Chalmers, a Shane Battier. Those guys were so good shooting the 3 ball. But with the current possibility at big 3, your 3-point shooter is someone who is a top 10 3-point shooter in NBA history, in Damian Lillard. Probably the best range in the NBA history. You might think it's Steph Curry, but if you look at the analytics and the actual numbers of Steph Curry's shooting percentage, shooting from 30-plus feet, to Damian Lillard's 30-plus feet, Dame actually shoots better. It really is shocking because even though Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time, there's no disputing that. When you think of just pure long distance, unbelievably deep 3-pointers, Damian Lillard does have that edge. So that's just the offense side of the ball. Let's transition into the defense and why I think that big 3 would be so effective. Well, here's the thing. Dame's not the best defender. There's just no hiding that, no sugarcoating it. Dame isn't a good defender. But that doesn't really matter when you have Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, right? Like, the Heat have had some of the best defense in the association over the past 4 years, and that's a common denominator from Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo being that dynamic duo. I always mention how Bam is the best defender in the NBA, in my opinion. I'll stand by that. I'll never shy away from that take. He is. And the fact he doesn't have a Defensive Player of the Year right now is absolutely criminal. And then you've got Jimmy Butler. And sure, his defense has declined, but he's one of the best two-way players in the league. And what makes him so effective is his IQ on the defensive end. He never misses a rotation when it matters. I mean, sure, there's times he takes possessions off in the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, he is always on his elite game rotating on the defensive end. And is one of the best parts about him. And the reason why he's so effective is because he's able to jump in the passing lanes when he reads what is happening. Someone sets a screen, it's going to be a quick fire to the other side for a catch-and-shoot 3. Jimmy sees that. He knows that. Jumps the lane, gets his hand in it. He's one of the best deflectors of the basketball we have in our game right now, and then he can get himself in the transition for an easy dunk. The defense would not go that poorly with Dame, Jimmy, and Bam, because then you have to factor in who else is on this team. And obviously, if they're Heat or trading for Dame, they'd have to give up some good role players. But if you have Caleb Martin, that's a good defender. Josh Richardson, another really good defender. I just really think this could be one of the best big threes that the NBA has ever seen. Maybe it's aggressive, maybe it's biased, but I just think the way they fit offensively, and the way that Erik Spoelstra can cook up offensive sets would be out of this world when you use Jimmy Butler off ball and then Dame and Bam in pick and rolls. I think it would rival the Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray pick and roll. Said it 2 or 3 times in this video. I'm going to stand by that. And I'm just really hoping that the trade actually happens so we can witness basketball being played at a high and elite level. Because there is no better basketball than Miami Heat basketball. And you throw Dame into that with Jimmy and Bam, and man, you have fireworks. And I don't care what bozo Paul Pierce says, because he's a loser. Straight up loser who's just hating on the Miami Heat because he was getting clapped by them back in the early 2010s. The Miami Heat would be NBA title favorites with Dame, Jimmy, and Bam on this current roster. And I think they would be the favorites in Vegas. I think they would win the NBA championship for everything I just outlined. You're going to always have the best coach in a playoff series in Erik Spoelstra because the Heat are lucky to have the best coach in the NBA. You're going to have the best three-point shooter in the game unless you're playing the Golden State Warriors. And you're going to have the best defender at all times with Bam Adebayo. So when you have the best coach, one of the best scorers / shooters, and then you have one of the best playoff risers in Jimmy Butler. Those are 3 great reasons why the Heat would win the NBA title with Dame, Jimmy, and Bam. That's going to do it for today's show. If you've tuned in throughout this video, I want to know who the real ones are. If you stayed out and are here watching me talk right now at this current moment, type 305 for Miami in the comment section. If I see you type a 305, I'm responding to you, and I'm knowing you are one of the most real ones we have here at the Heat Report. So if you are a real one, type the 305, and I'm going to see you guys. Peace out at the Heat Report.